Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Aquí tienen el horario para hoy, lunes, el 17 de abril. Today, your project is due the autobiographical presentation de Niño Como Eras, and then also the peer interview activity de Niño Como Eras. We've talked about the project a bunch, so I'm just going to spend a moment to talk about the interview activity, which uses the same 5 questions that you guys did for your project. And what you're going to do is you're going to go around the room and you're going to ask these questions to your classmates, interview your classmates, and then you're going to jot down 3 key pieces of information that reflect their responses to each question. So for example, the first one, ¿Cómo eras?, is asking what they were like as a child. You're going to jot down 3 adjectives that they use to describe themselves. And you can just do that in bullet point format. That's totally fine. 3 adjectives for ¿Cómo eras?, 3 adjectives as well to describe what their family used to be like when they were little. 3 activities to talk about what they used to like to do when they were little. Their favorite subject, and then 2 descriptions or 2 reasons why it was their favorite subjects. We're looking for an adjective and then a verb. So for example, inglés, interesante, leer, or arte, creativo, dibujar, educación física, divertido, and practicar deportes, right? So favorite subject, adjective, and verb. And then finally, it didn't need to be 3, but as many as you'd like to include, extracurriculars that they were involved in when they were younger. You can talk with one person for all 5 questions and kind of essentially have 3 separate interviews, right? You're going to write the name of the person that you spoke with in the box, and then those 3 key pieces of information. Or if you want to talk with 15 different people, one person for each question, one unique person for each question, that's fine too. Just write the name of the person that you spoke with, and then their 3 key pieces of information. That is the interview activity de niña como eras. All right, due for next class, our core workbook pages 73, 78, and 81. You guys can watch this video here for instructions on how to complete the assignment, and refer to those textbook pages in addition to your notes as well for how to go about those workbook pages. Those are worth 40 points, y'all. So this is an assignment you definitely want to do and do on time. All right, daily objectives continue to be talking about what you were like when you were younger, toys you used to like to play with, activities that you used to enjoy doing, what your family was like, and then begin expressing those past actions, habitual past actions, using the imperfect tense. That's what we've been covering for the past few classes. Our warm-up we'll get to in just a moment. We'll review the notes that we've looked at for the past week. Take a look at Lady Gaga's Poker Face Spanish Imperfect video. Then knock out some guided practice activities in addition to going over the new notes for indirect object pronouns. We'll do extra credit presentations today too for your autobiographical presentation. So as many of you that would like to present today and today only will have that opportunity during class. This is what we've been going over for the past week or so. The imperfect tense we've talked about is used to talk about actions that happen repeatedly in the past. That's a key description or characteristic of the imperfect, for repeated actions in the past, as opposed to the preterites, which we looked at last quarter 3, in that the preterite is used for completed actions in the past, actions that happened just once. We looked at AR endings in the imperfect there on page 194. ER and IR endings sharing the same endings in the past in the imperfect. There you have them at the bottom of page 194. And then the adverbs of frequency, like todos los días, siempre, or a menudo, to say how often repeated actions took place in the past. These are excellent context clues because we use them to imply that something happened more than once in the past. All right, now if we take a look at what we looked at last class, here are our imperfect tense conjugations for irregular verbs, the verbs ir, ser, and ver. You can see there on page 196. Very similar to the regular verbs, and that the yo form and the el, ella, usted form share the same conjugations, and also the nosotros form has an accent above that first vowel there. We did exercise 16. If not, you can take a look at the daily agenda video from last class. I believe we were able to knock that out. And so what we're going to do today in terms of new material is take a look at indirect object pronouns, which are on page 199, página 199. And we alluded to these earlier in chapter 4a. They came up when we were doing our workbook homework exercises. Indirect object pronouns tell to whom or for whom an action is done. An indirect object is the recipient of the action of the verb, the receiver, yeah? So for this example, nuestros profesores no nos permitían beber refrescos en clase. Our professors don't allow who? They don't allow us to drink in class. So us is your indirect object pronoun, right? Us indicates who, to whom or for whom an action is performed. For example, the action here is to allow. Who is the indirect object pronoun. Sus abuelos siempre les daban regalos a los niños. Their grandparents always used to give who? Gifts? Always used to give the kids. Them would be the indirect object pronoun, right? Nos, les, and you can see the other indirect object pronouns here. Me, te, and le are your indirect object pronouns in the yo, tu, el, ella, usted forms, and in the nosotros and ellos, ellas, ustedes forms. Le and les have more than one meaning, right? They can mean to him, to her, or to you or to them for the plural. So normally to make the meaning clear, we add a name, a noun, or a pronoun here at the very end, just for clarification, right? Lolita siempre les decía la verdad a sus padres. Lolita siempre les decía la verdad a ellos. Ellos is a pronoun, right? They. Sus padres is a noun, her parents. So just for emphasis, to make the meaning clear, for le and les, oftentimes you'll see a name, noun, or pronoun at the very end of that sentence. We'll watch the Gramatica video on indirect object pronouns. I think we'll have to skip exercise 22 because of the extra credit presentations that many of you had said that you were due for today. So rather than doing both 22 and 25, we're only going to have time for activity 25, which is a conversation activity you'll do with your partner. Who used to do the following activities for you? So part A, the question is going to begin with quiénes, to say who. Te, because the question is directed to you, so we're going to use the indirect object pronoun te. And then the verb that's provided here is the verb that you're going to conjugate in the imperfect to inquire about who used to do these activities for you when you were little. Habla con otro estudiante sobre quienes hacían estas cosas para ti cuando eras niño. So have a conversation, talk with a classmate about who used to do. Quienes hacían. Who used to do these things when you were a little boy or girl. So for example, quienes te compraban regalos? Who used to buy you gifts when you were a kid? Mis padres me compraban regalos de vez en cuando. So to answer the question, you're going to begin with who, right? Did that activity for you. And you can add an adverb of frequency. Siempre, a veces, a menudo, nunca. And those adverbs of frequency you can find again back on page 194 that we went over at the beginning of chapter 4a. Generalmente, to say generally, or a menudo, often, muchas veces, many times, etc. All right, so let's do a couple together. Let's take a look at the verbs that they're using for exercise 25. So, leer cuentos is to read stories. ¿Quiénes te leían cuentos? Who used to read you stories? Mis padres me leían cuentos todos los días. Or mis hermanos me leían cuentos de vez en cuando. Mi mamá me leía cuentos siempre. Who used to prepare cookies for you when you were a kid? ¿Quiénes te preparaba galletas? Who used to send you birthday cards? ¿Quiénes te enviaban tarjetas de cumpleaños? Who used to give you money to buy stuff? ¿Quiénes te daban dinero para comprar cosas? Good morning. Who used to lend you toys when you were a kid? Prestar juguetes. And then finally, who used to sing you lullabies? ¿Quiénes te cantaban canciones de cuna? So you're going to begin with the answer, the people, right? In this example, mis padres. And then me. And then whatever verb that's used in the question, you're going to conjugate that verb in the imperfect according to the person that you identified. And then if you'd like to, you can finish off there with an adverb of frequency. That again is on page 194. So that's where we're going to finish off today. Homework is going to be those core workbook pages that I talked about at the very beginning. You can take a look at the video for that. For guidance, that's due next class. And you guys have a pop quiz next class as well. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you guys turned in your peer interview activity by tonight. Your autobiographical presentations too are due by midnight tonight.